Yeah, welcome to Sew with Tia. Thank you so much for your love in my previous video. In today's tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to cut and sew this one shoulder midi dress with collar strap details. If this is what you would like to see, keep watching. So these are the materials I'm going to be making use of. You actually need your half length pattern for your front and your back block, and for your front block it should be on fold, not just a single sheet. Okay, so I'm going to be making use of this fabric. Now this fabric I have here is a chiffon fabric, and it's a very light chiffon fabric. So for the pattern fabric I'm making use of a chiffon fabric, and for the mustard color I'm making use of a crepe fabric. So this crepe fabric has medium thickness. You will also be needing a zipper, okay, and I'm going to be listing every other necessary materials in the description box. So I'm going to be explaining a few things, but before then, here are the measurements I'm going to be making use of. I'll also be leaving this in the description box so that you can always go back to check. So I'm going to be starting with the lower part of this dress, and to be able to cut that, we're going to be cutting an half circle, and you're going to be needing the waist circumference. To get the waist circumference, you need your waist round. In my case, I'm using 30 inches plus 2 inches. That's for my zipper, and that gave me 32. I'm going to be dividing by 3.14 to get 10.2 inches. Okay, now this 10.2 inches is my waist circumference, and the length of the lower part, that is from my half length to where I want my gown to stop, is 30 inches. And how did I get that 30 inches? From my full length. My full length is 45.5. Take away my half length, 15.5, so I'm left with 30 inches. So to that 30 inches I'll just add an extra 1.5 inches for my hemming allowance. So now I'm going to go ahead to mark that 10.2 inches, which is my waist circumference, on my pattern paper. So I'm doing this on pattern paper so that you can see this clearly. So that is it on my pattern paper. The next thing is to indicate the length. Like I said, the length I want to use is 31.5 inches, but then my pattern paper is short, so I just went ahead to mark 14 inches. That is the end at which my pattern paper stop. So on my fabric, when I spread, I'm going to be increasing this length so that you can see the way I'm going to be cutting it. Because I'm working with a chiffon fabric, it's actually very slippery, and that's why I had to just do it on a pattern paper. So this is what I have. I added 0.5 inches on the waist circumference on the upper part, and this is what the pattern is looking like. Remember that this pattern length is just 14 inches. Okay, so here's my fabric. I've spread this and I'll be cutting two pieces, that is one for the front and one for the back. Now remember I told you that my supposed length is 31.5 inches. So look at the way I'm marking this. I'm just going to put my tape measure from the original measurement on the waist circumference, and I'm going to be marking 31 inches round. So I went ahead to mark 31 inches round, and I'm going to be cutting two pieces for this. So this is what I have after cutting this round. And here I'm just going to go ahead to fold one of the piece into two, because I'm going to be cutting it into two in order to have my back pattern. Alright, so now to the front. Like I said, you're going to be needing your front and your back block for the half length. So I'm just going to go ahead to fold my fabric into two, and I'm going to be cutting out my back pattern. So one thing you need to notice, along the neckline, I did not go down by any inch. I just cut straight for the neckline of the back pattern. And also for the zipper allowance, I'm just going to be pinning down with my pin. This is very important. So I did not cut through my zipper allowance yet. I just went ahead to notch my dart point for the back. So now here we are to the front. You want to label your left and right so that you can know the direction to which your one shoulder is going to be coming. Now, in the case of this tutorial, I'm going to be using the left side, and you want to determine how deep you want it to be. For my, I used 2.5 inches. You can decide to go lower than that. Now, you can decide to use a straight line, or you can decide to use a curve. So I ended up using a curve. Initially, I used a straight line, but then I just decided to use a slight curve. So this is what is going to be looking like after using the curve on it. So I'm just going to go ahead to trim this off. We don't need that part again. Now I'm going to go ahead to bring my back pattern. Remember that the zipper allowance is pinned. Just allow it pinned, like leave it pinned like that. Then I'm going to face this back pattern. That is the right side facing up. Now if you look at this my pattern, this is the right side, but if I'm cutting like this on the back, it will be wrong. So what I'm going to do now is to turn my pattern paper for the front upside down, so that the right side of the pattern paper will be facing the right side of the back pattern. I hope you understand what I did here, so that you will not end up having two different sides. Your one shoulder will not be cut on two different sides. Okay, a lot of people make this mistake. So this is what I have. So what I'm going to do now is just to go ahead to mark that shape, because remember that the back shape is also going to have the same shape, because this is a one shoulder dress. So after marking, I'm just going to take my front pattern away now, and I will just go ahead to cut out that particular shape on the back. So this is what my back is looking like. And at this point, I can now go over to my zipper allowance and cut it open. I also went ahead to indicate my right side from my wrong side, since this look very, very similar. Then for the front, you can see I placed this on the right side of the fabric, and I just went ahead to cut out the exact shape I have on my pattern paper. I also went ahead to notch the dart point, and this is what my front part is looking like. So I'm going to be bringing the back pattern, and I'm going to be placing it on the front. So this is the back pattern, right side facing right side. You can see that it is properly aligned. So I'm going to go ahead to the sewing machine. I'm going to be sewing in my darts for the front and the back. And because this is very light, you don't need to do this in your case. If you are working with a crepe fabric, I'm going to be cutting this same design on another chiffon material, same chiffon material, just to make it thick a bit, use it as a lining to turn it. And here is what I have after turning it. So this is what I have after sewing the dart and joining the sides together. This is what I have. You can see my neckline has been turned, the armhole for the parts that we have the stripe has been turned, but the other armhole where I'm going to be joining the sleeve was not turned. It was not turned. It's, you are still going to see the fray edges, okay, because we'll be adding our sleeve on that part. So this is what I have. So this is the way it's going to be. This is the way I'm going to be folding. Remember, I'm working with a chiffon fabric, so you can see it's not really slipping well even after ironing. So what I'm going to do to my zipper allowance now is to add an interfacing on the inside. So this is what it's going to look like on the front. So I just went ahead to open it back. So I'm going to be adding interfacing on the zipper part to allow this have a little bit of stability. That is just a soft interfacing. So that one shoulder part from the left hand side to the right hand side, I'm going to be measuring the length I have, and in my case I have 12 inches. Please be minded, I have not joined the shoulder, the part that has the sleeve, the shoulder to shoulder, I've not joined it yet. So that 12 inches, I just went ahead to the back also to measure. Okay, so it's about the same thing. That means I have 12 inches on that cuffed part for the front and 12 inches for the back. So it means if I'm going to be cutting a strap, that 12 inches plus 12 inches will give me 24. And remember that I'm going to be tying this. So that 24 inches, I'm going to be drafting that on my colored fabric, but I'm not going to be drafting exactly 24. I need more than 24 because I'm going to be tying this in front of a strap. So one thing you need to know, your center front for this strap must be higher than the side, okay? Remember, that part is going to be where the collar is. So what I did there for the width, I used 4.5 inches on the center front, and on the lower end I used 3.5 inches, and that is, I just connected it using a slant line, and you are going to see the shape I'm going to finally have when I'm done. Now, what I have here is not up to 30 something inches. I only have that exact 12 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm still going to be joining to this particular collar, because I need the strap to be long so that it can tie around my shoulder for the other part that does not have a sleeve. So I just went to the remaining fabric and I added some extra inches. I added about, I think, 11 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead. Yes, I just went ahead to, trim this. Then I'm going to be joining this, and I'm going to be showing you what this is going to look like when I'm done. So for the joining, I had to cut 4 pieces in total, because remember that I'm having 2 pieces here. I'm going to be joining each piece to one part, to one end of this. So this is what it looked like after holding with a pin. That is the wrong side, and this is what the second part is going to look like. Also went ahead to notch the mid part, that is the center, the mid part of the collar. So this is what it's going to look like. I'm going to be using interfacing on one part of this sleeve, and I'm going to be sewing it together, and I'm going to show you what this look like when I'm done. So this is it. After ironing and joining together, I have interfacing on one side. I already sew one end together, and also went ahead to sew both end. So this is what the sleeve is giving me. You can see that part I joined. If your fabric is long enough, you don't need to join. My fabric was short, that was why I needed to join. So now I'm back to our upper piece. This is what our upper piece is looking like. I went ahead to join the shoulder to shoulder, and I went ahead to fix interfacing, as you can see. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to that shoulder part, the part where I joined, okay, that shoulder part, and that is going to be the part I will start fixing my collar. Okay, I'm going to explain again. Now this mid part, this shoulder part where you have the joining, the part that is going to have the short sleeve, you are going to go to the mid part of your collar. That particular point will notch, and you are going to be fixing that into the mid part where you have the joining on your shoulder. I hope you understand what I say. Remember that that part is the widest part. It is going to be the widest part, okay? And from that point, you are just going to go in with your pin, and you are going to fix what you have until you get to the edge of the second armhole that has been cut out. So this is what I have. And once I got to the zipper part, once you get to the zipper part rather, you are just going to leave probably 1 or 2 inches, okay? Then we're going to be cutting this out to use for the second part. So I'm just going to go in with my scissors right now, and I went ahead to cut to trim that part. Yes, now this excess I have is what I will use for the second part. Remember that I've not fixed my zipper here, so now I'm going to start from the zipper part on this second part, okay? Then I'm going to go ahead to fix this until I get to the armhole point again, as you can see. So I went ahead to fix off camera, and this is what the front is looking like. Yes, this is one side of the upper part, then this is the second side. So you can see that hole, that armhole is where I'm going to be tying the strap on. So I just went on with my lower part, okay? My lower part has been joined off camera, and I'm going to notch the midpoint of the lower part, which is going to be the half flare, and I connected it to the midpoint of the upper part, okay? I'm going to be joining these together off camera, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. Now for the sleeve, I went ahead to cut my sleeve, and the armhole there, I'm going to just go ahead to I'm going to go ahead to fix my sleeve off camera, and this is what the final look is giving. This tutorial is really easy, but because I kind of work with chiffon, it's a little bit slippery. I hope you love what you see. Do let me know in the comment section. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe